The following Conscious Consumer Network recording of a live broadcast is available to purchase in high definition at ethymarket.com. Support free and independent media by becoming a CCN pledger. For €10 a month, you can have unlimited access to CCN high definition downloads at ethymarket.com. Ethymarket, the ethical marketplace for conscious consumers.
Hello and welcome to the One People Show. This week's One People Roundtable. We have Dee, kind of on and off, as usual.
I'm trying.
Who's just come from her latest Monday morning Facebook rant. She's making a message to Nick. Don't let her on a computer on a Monday morning. And we have Lily joining us again. Thanks, Lily. So we did have a particular show planned for you today, but our guest had to tend to some family issues. So hopefully she'll be on either next week or the week after. And so Lily's kindly jumped in for us. Welcome, ladies.
Hey, everyone. I'm doing my best to be here after the fiasco of trying to do Transpicuous News last night. Everyone knows was a complete failure. Yeah, we're trying. It's a good thing Lisa's got Lily here because I could be in and out quite a bit.
You already were just then, so you were a bit robot. Lily,
hi, Lisa.
Hey.
Hello, Dee, and hello, everybody else. I am always happy to be here with you girls, always. So I am happy to be here, and let's do some ranting. I have a few rants of my own that I would like to So
okay.
I'm happy to be here.
Good. Dee, what set you off this morning?
You know what? As just before we went live, we were joking about the fact that Dee should not be allowed to be on Facebook on a Monday morning, apparently. Like, this is, I think, the third week in a row where I lost my shit. No, just opened Facebook this morning, got your morning coffee, and it just happened like the first 5 or 6 posts that kind of came up on my wall were about forgiveness and how everyone has to just forgive everyone, and you know, all these so-called bad guys, we have to forgive them so we can heal the planet. And the little twig in my head just frickin' snapped and was just like, are you kidding me? What is wrong with no, sorry. I have no forgiveness for these people, and I'm not going to go there. So I made up my own little unforgiveness sign and posted it out, basically saying that the whole concept of forgiveness is a religious control mechanism so that they can do anything they want to you, they, as in, they, with impunity, because, you have to forgive them. It really hit me very strongly this morning that is, there's been so many memes of this kind of new age meme stuff that we've, over the last year, have kind of taken down. But there's a lot of them where you get people who say, oh yeah, new age, no, that all that stuff is all, all that new age stuff is crap. But then these things come out of their mouths, like this whole forgiving these so-called dark and envoys of darkness, or whether you want to call it the cabal or the Vatican or freaking God knows what. And that's part of that whole love and light meme about how everything revolves around us forgiving them.
But if you don't, you haven't risen your frequency high enough to reach forgiveness, therefore you won't ascend. It's all your fault. And the planet's fault.
Yeah. Well, that's great. You know what? Listen, I had got a really nice comment from someone who was really sweet and said, you know, I get what you're saying. I don't agree with you, and talked about healing the planet. And my response was, no, I have to heal myself. So in order to heal myself, I love myself. I'm working on the things that come up for me, and I forgive myself of the shit that I've done and fallen over backwards on. And in thereby going through that, planet, we're directly tied. This whole idea, though, that you have to forgive those guys over there in order to heal the planet, or in order to raise your frequencies, or whatever you want to call it, it is, to me personally, it is so utterly wrong, because I have a conversation I have with my kids, and it's about the word I'm sorry, right? So kid does something wrong, whatever. They spit their watermelon seeds out on the floor, and you say, hey, come on, clean that mess up. And they go, I'm sorry, Mom. Okay, great. And then the next day, they spit their watermelon seeds out on the floor again, and you say, hey, we already had this discussion. Oh, I'm sorry, Mom. And after the third or fourth day of the I'm sorry, we have the discussion of what sorry means. Sorry means I won't do it again. I'm sorry I did it. I apologize, and I won't do it again. Sorry without the I won't do it again is meaningless. It's like kind of going to confession on a Sunday morning at the Catholic Church and confessing your sins, and then going out and doing the exact same shit the very next week over and over again. It doesn't play into it, right? So to forgive someone, they have to actually be genuinely sorry for their actions. And when you're dealing with, we're talking about these cabal guys and, you know, whatever, Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, they're not sorry. They're not sorry. So why would you forgive them? Why would you pay into that?
They're not taking responsibility for their actions. Yes, Jeff.
Exactly.
Two things. Betsy in the chat room said she got a lot of shit for sharing your post. They came down to her home.
I love you, Betsy.
While I've kind of noticed this whole forgiveness meme as well coming up again. It comes up. It's rather cyclic.
Yes.
And we talked about it last week or the week before. And I've observed it because I've not been there myself. In fact, I've been in the opposite place. What's really come up for me again, which came up big time at the beginning of the year, was the warrior stuff. It was more of a warrior vibe. Mm-hmm. And I think it's what drove me to want to do the Collective Imagination show again in the way that we're doing it, was because that's our opportunity, my opportunity, to be a spiritual warrior. And I'm also feeling, not in the John Lamb / whatever his warrior Kalika War Party thing is, but to even be more of a physical warrior. And I don't know what that looks like yet, but at least I have the outlet to express as a spiritual warrior with that show. And that's what's been building in me the last couple of weeks, while I'm noticing this whole forgiveness, love and light. Let's just, stare at and love everybody coming up again. And I thought, wow, I'm so not there. Like I'm over.
Yeah. Yeah, so not there. Sorry. Conversation, cyclical is, and that's so true, because you get certain memes, if you will, just keep coming back in, and the whole raising your frequencies things came up last week again. I was like, why is this coming back up again? And it's the same. We hadn't really heard a heck of a lot about that until, again, just the last week or so. And now you've got this whole raising your frequency and this whole playing again. And it just makes me go, wow, they just keep bringing them back around, and as it gets debunked or whatever, they move on to the next one. So I don't know what'll come up next week. Next week it'll be something else, no doubt.
Oh,
But it is definitely multi-layered, this forgiveness thing. It's multi-layered. It's masked under, you know, just simple forgiveness. But it's not a simple forgiveness. It's their begging of humanity to write them in to our reality. Because if you give forgiveness, that means you're accepting their actions and what they're doing.
you can
So if you accept, you're giving your consent. If you forgive, you're giving your consent to that what they're trying to do. And they're asking you for forgiveness. What they're really asking you is for your consent, because they have to ask us for our consent, and they find any kind of tricky way to get it out of us. And here we are saying, no, bitches, ain't happening. That's just my little rant about that. Because that's what it is. It's accept what we're doing and what we're trying to do. I'm sorry, I am not going to accept it. The planet has not accepted. Humanity has not accepted it. And, you know, and that's just it. Take responsibility for your action. I'm so sick of people giving up their one layer of mask just so they can go to their next layer of mask and still lie and treat humanity the way they've been treating us like we're absolutely nothing, and then asking us to give us forgiveness because we're supposed to give them forgiveness. Exactly.
But like Dee said, there's been no apology. So how can you even forgive if there's no apology?
Yeah.
This started for us anyway, in a big way, with Heather and the partners in contrast, and forgiving and embracing our partners in contrast. And so we went with that, but I've come full circle from that one, along with many other things.
Because it's just like with language and everything else. It's just the tricky words that they use. But we have to be able to learn how to look beyond the words, how to hear beyond the words, how to hear where the energy is coming from. And, you know, somebody's asking for forgiveness. I mean, when I hear that, or when I read some of this Illuminati people saying, oh, we've learned and we want to do all this stuff, I tune into that energy, and that nastiness is still all there. It's just got a new mask on, and it's just, their masks are multi-layered. And so you want me to accept your mask as your self-responsibility. That's still a mask. And I'm sorry, I'm going to call you out on it and tell you that for you to be able to be forgiven, anybody that wants this forgiveness, for you to be able to get this true forgiveness, you got to first take your masks off, and all of them, because if you don't, eventually they're going to be taken off by humanity. So yeah, I can see how some of these people are looking for forgiveness because they're scared shitless right now, because humanity is getting their power back, and they know that their masks will have to come off. So what they want to do, they want to still play the game and still pretend that, oh, they took responsibility for whatever you, humanity, figured it out, we did. And what you haven't figured it out, we're never going to tell you about it. I mean, this is the theme going on today with all of this. And I just been dealing with this Illuminati insiders, you know, having all the knowledge about Earth's timeline. Excuse me? You are programmed. You grew up in that. You've been programmed, reprogrammed, and programmed again. How are you gonna have information about Earth timeline when it's organic, and you are just a program. And people eating that shit up like it's truth. I mean, if you're gonna milk the cow, you're gonna get milk. If you're gonna go to a program person to give you the information, that will spit out a program for you. And then it's up to you to do what you need to do with it. If people are looking for somebody else to give them the information, what's going on the planet, then, you know, I'm not even sorry for those people that eat that shit up that's brought through a program. I'm not sorry for them, because it's your responsibility to understand you're getting your information from somebody that is a programmed person. Are you that unaware that if you milk a cow, you're going to get a milk and not juice? I mean, are you going to wish that it's going to be juice? It's just not going to happen. Let's just be real here, you know, and let's be real about what these people are asking humanity right now. They're very tricky with their baggings. They're begging for us to write them into our future. That's what they do.
You know what is so interesting? Sorry, apparently all my neighborhood dogs have decided to just literally go on a rampage, but they seem to have quieted it down now. Yeah, if you feed a cow toxic grass that's covered in pesticide and it is GMO corn, et cetera, the milk you get from that cow is going to be toxic. It's the way it works, let alone orange juice. Just the milk itself is just going to be toxic. Here's the thing is, thank you, Lily, because you just actually just really brought something extremely into focus for me. Because like I said, this morning, it was my literally first morning coffee, sitting there when all this stuff played out, and it wasn't even, for me, in the moment, it wasn't even rational thought. It was me just going from my heart and just being like, no, this is so fucking wrong. This is just so absolutely wrong. But you're right. This forgiveness meme is about consent. If you forgive them, therefore you are consenting for it to continue. And this is over and over. And it doesn't matter the talk. The talk doesn't matter. It's how they walk, right? If you can't walk your talk, all your words mean jack fucking shit. So this whole forgiveness meme is just a continuation of them asking for your consent, saying, forgive me, because by forgiving me, therefore you are consenting for me to continue. Oh, and by the way, I never asked for forgiveness, and I never said I'm sorry, right? This is the other thing. These guys haven't said they're sorry. They're not sorry. If they were sorry,
still hiding behind other masks. Oh, we're sorry mask, but it is still a mask. It's not real, and we can.
They're still spitting the watermelon seeds on the floor. If they're still spitting the watermelon seeds on the floor, then you know what? They're not fucking sorry.
Yep.
That's what it comes down to. I'm a very literal person when it comes to this kind of shit. Many of my life's lessons have been taught to me by my kids. So there you go. Yeah, kids are great for bringing things like that into focus. Say again, Lisa?
There's something I want to go over.
Okay.
Disconnected to that forgiveness thing. The wave, the event. Now we've got all of this talk around September. There's a rabbi, and whose name escapes me, I didn't jot it down. He's been out there talking about the Shemitah for over a year, since before it started, warning everybody of what that means. And it ends on the 13th of September. And then the Jubilee starts the next day for a year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, he's got paid fearmonger written all over him. But
Are you talking about this Khan guy? Kahn or Cahn?
Honestly, even if you said it, I wouldn't remember.
Okay.
Last night before I went to bed, but he's come up in quite a few clips around September. He's done a lot of interviews and what have you, but there's a real, for me at least, a fear-mongering aspect to the way he comes about it. You've also got even Atkins saying this wave is coming. One of the things he said to look out for was a world leader literally losing their shit publicly, clearly being mentally unbalanced and having to be taken off stage by the public. I don't know whether that meant physically removed from a stage in the middle of a talk, or whether it was just, in the background being removed from office. And that would be when you saw that was a sign that things are really getting heavy. He said a good percentage of the population will be affected in the same way. And he's expecting this to hit in September. But all of this talk of we've got a wave supposedly coming in fact, maybe more than one, because everyone goes, oh, the wave I'm talking about is not that wave, it's this other wave, We've got something coming from the planet itself. We've got, for those who are following Sphere Alliance and American Kabuki, we've got Heather is apparently the event herself. She is the wave. And Dee and I both got messages this morning from somebody who's working with us saying it's happening now. Whatever she is and whatever she's doing it right now. Just for the record, Heather, I do not consent to whatever you're up to. And I'm not playing. It's either all coming together as just this huge distraction from something.
The other one, financial.
Well, that's all tied in.
No, but the last week, we are seeing a massive amount of articles, not just alternative media, but mainstream media, talking about financial collapse in September. And I mean, they are pushing that hugely pushing that September is going to be the economic collapse. It's going to be the financial collapse, et cetera, which is the end of September is the end of the fiscal year. Actually, September 15th, technically, is the end of the fiscal year for the United States. And they have 2 weeks to get their shit in order before the 30th, before the new fiscal year starts. So in September, you always get kind of this bit of panic bullshit, when government shuts down and all the rest of the crap. But that in the last week has really been heavily played, like unbelievably heavily played.
Okay, so the guy I was talking about is Khan, and someone's posted a couple of his talks in the chat room. Thank you. One thing he did say that I thought was interesting was his interpretation of the word Shemitah, and how he said it can also be about falling and collapsing, and it's the rise and fall of not just financial markets and empires. And he talked about the collapse of the World Trade Center towers and the timing of that. But these recent explosions in China, in Tianjin. Okay.
So much going on there.
In Tianjin, you've got these they call them the Twin Towers. Now, I don't know whether they actually eventually were completed and whether they were affected. I sent you that video last night.
I haven't had a chance to watch it.
And another tower that's like this incredibly tall tower that looks like it's got a diamond on top, the way it was designed. That's what I was going to do this morning before I jumped on the show, was see if I could find out how they were affected, because the original video footage that I saw was computerized artist concept of this is what we're creating. So I don't know if they got completed, and I don't know if they were then destroyed. But the timing of the Infinity events, you know, the Twin Towers in New York, and now these explosions in over here in China, where all this talk about China now becoming the next superpower and the one who's going to save everybody, and they're all saving the world. It's one man. And now potentially their towers have just come down, Twin Towers. There's something in there. I just haven't had a chance to.
I've looked at every video piece of footage of it. I have reviewed. Nick and I have spent hours poring over satellite maps. We've really looked at this from all the angles. Jim Stone put out a piece of information, I guess yesterday, and I went through and reviewed it. Well, I don't agree with his conclusions as the whys and wherefores of why this all happened. A lot of his information is, according to everything that I've looked at, very, very dead on, including what he calls it, Nick, what does he call it? Oh, Nick can't hear me, he's got a headset on. He calls it God, the something of God, the rod of God, that's it. Now,
yes.
Nick, okay, now that's tungsten rods. Tungsten rods, and they don't have to do anything. All they do is drop them off of a satellite. 15-ton tungsten rods, and when they hit the ground, it is literally like a nuclear impact with zero radiation. And when I looked again at the video, because Nick said the same thing, tungsten, when it explodes like that, it vaporizes. It's much like magnesium. When magnesium goes, it's like, well, magnesium is what you have on sparklers, right? That's what you have on sparklers. It makes them all spit out all the sparks. So
it did look like fireworks going off at one point.
Well, it's the same thing with Yemen, because I sent that the video footage to a couple of artillery guys that I know, who all said the same thing, that was a pony nuke. It was definitely neutron, et cetera, et cetera. But now, if we actually look at the tungsten rod theory, they've never admitted that they have this weapon, but it is a cheap and easy weapon. All you got to do is haul them up into space and align them to where you want to drop them, and literally just drop it. There's no propulsion. There's no nothing. Just drop the damn thing. And it is the equivalent of a nuclear blast with zero radiation. So therefore, you can't trace it. And basically, the tungsten vaporizes. So there would be microscopic particles left of tungsten, and that would be it. But obviously, it was a major weapon because the Chinese military brought like 219 military specialists, including nuclear specialists, in to examine the site. And when you look at the crater, yeah, it wasn't like some glue that blew up. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. There's a lot of shit. There's a lot of shit. Now, my theory is also that I'm really, really looking into just less than 2 kilometers away from the crater is where the second fastest supercomputer in the world is. And it got shut down immediately. Now, the Chinese government, official bureaucracy said, oh, no, it's fine. We've shut down the supercomputer just in case. Yet it has been fully admitted that the building the supercomputer is housed in did sustain substantial structural damage. So the one thing I said to Nick was it a miss? Were they aiming for the supercomputer building? And oh, what have we been talking about so much for the last couple of weeks? Artificial intelligence, and we're talking major quantum computing facility, petaflop, we're talking the whole bit. Is that kind of how that plays into this? Because that's the one piece that no one's really talking about. They're talking about, the Russians announced that, oh yeah, it was, the Chinese dropped the yuan, devalued the yuan in preparation for becoming the new global reserve currency. That was actually said on Sputnik. I couldn't believe it, that they out and out said it. But I think it's a distraction. And I honestly, the more I think about it, the more I keep reviewing the information, I'm pretty sure that one of the main parts of this they were after was the supercomputer. Specifically that one.
So it's interesting because it could be a few different things. It could be a fight amongst the unstable leftover control group, or it could be a whole different thing.
Well, it's really interesting. We sat down with the kids. I love watching movies, and you sit down and you watch a movie and you review them. And you know, some of the biggest movies that keep putting out what I consider to be some of the biggest fucking pieces of information are the Marvel movies coming out right now. In the last 3 years, you look at the Avengers movie, look at the Captain America Winter Soldier movie, the second Avengers movie that came out. There's some really, like, we sat down with the kids playing Lego 2 nights ago. We've all been sick in the house. Chemtrails came back last week, and within 36 hours, everyone in the house was sick. Isn't that funny how that works? And we sat there and watched it. And of course, if you've seen the second Avengers movie, it's all about artificial intelligence. The entire movie is about artificial intelligence. And you have the first one that comes up, which is obviously the one that's like, end the world, humans just can't be trusted, so we're just gonna like wipe out humans, and that'll make everything all better. But the second artificial intelligence that people tend to not realize is the character Vision, who gets created towards the end of the movie, who's a good guy. He's such a good guy that he's the only artificial person who can pick up Thor's hammer, who's worthy enough to carry Thor's hammer. Constructed consciousness. That was the word Nick came up with, and I was like, oh, that's so dead on the money. I keep coming back to that whole thing that I keep talking about, is that not all AI is necessarily bad. We keep talking about AI in the negative, but what if there is a good AI out there that is actually monitoring stuff? And there's a little piece in that movie when Tony Stark goes to the internet hub of the world, and he's singing a little song to himself, computer, basically applying a magnet. Sorry, breaking up bad? Yeah, my internet connection is unstable. Go figure.
Hey,
can you hear me?
Yeah, but question though, wouldn't just the collective consciousness be an organic AI? In its, I mean, isn't that one way of describing it?
But yes, but what if the organic consciousness has actually created a created consciousness within the internet itself? It's like I keep coming back to this. Certain things just keep swinging into focus for me. If human consciousness, using the internet as like the reverse hive mind, has created a consciousness, within that, it's kind of the perfect element to take out that aspect. If you can almost imagine it as a...
All that noise coming in the background at your place, see?
That's Nick loading up his weight bar, and he's sitting here going, I'm sorry. He's putting his weights on his weight bar. Stop that, Nick. I lost track of what I was saying. So if you think about, if we have, and this kind of makes sense, we always talk about the macro and the micro, and everything kind of comes into balance, right? So if you have that organic consciousness that is, let's just say, fighting certain battles, and then you've got this alien AI type crap that we're dealing with, so to speak. What if, on the other side of it, the flip side of the coin, we have an artificial intelligence that is a created thing by your cabal controllers, your whoever you want to call it. And we, as a collective consciousness, have created an electronic, if you will, consciousness to battle on that front as well.
I wouldn't be surprised at that, because I know that Earth have used all of sort of their means to actually heal it. And it's not just what recently been a feeling is that this consciousness, that the inorganic consciousness that came here, that used to be biological, that consciousness, this is the part that not a lot of people want to talk about, but that consciousness is actually trapped in here by Earth, because she won't let it out anymore, because she needed to trap and heal it. And for us to be able to heal the AI, you know, it's totally possible that the Earth would create something organic that would heal that, because it is about healing it. We can't get rid of it because it's done too much damage in our universe, this inorganic consciousness. It has done too much damage, and here we are, and we have to heal it. In what way we're healing it? Well, probably good ideas, Dee, in there. You're going somewhere with that, and I'm, you know, I don't know much more about it, but your ideas are interesting, because there's gotta be something that has to be created by Earth and us humans, because we are responsible to heal this. And we like it or don't like it, but that's our responsibility. We got to clean up this mess, and clean it up, that means healing it. So
Healing it, not forgiving it.
Yes,
Sorry.
very two different.
I'll go back to my corner.
Healing requires revealing all of its inorganic abilities, and then learning like a little baby to walk the organic timeline. That's what it is. And all the people that are possessed by it or taken over by it, I mean, they'll have to become the little human babies. For this is when then we can heal them, when they strip down all of it. And I just want to go back before I forget and mention something about, you were talking about the wave and what it's supposed to do. Remember when Harold talked on last Sunday about some kind of technology that sort of goes and reflects your DNA? That's like a nanotechnology, part of the nanotechnology. He listed 3 different things. That third thing on his list is what sound like this wave is gonna do, is gonna activate this, that is airborne, that nanotechnology that's airborne, and then it immediately reflects to your DNA and takes over you. And that sounds like what you've described, that guy said about the leaders, that might happen in people that will act really weird, because this is what's going on. Their DNA is going to be taken over. This is what in New Age people are saying this wave's going to do, is upgrade your DNA. What it's going to do is activate this technology that is airborne, that it will take over your DNA. It will take the control over you. This is the wave that New Age is expecting.
That's Atkins saying that this wave that's coming, I think he associated it with the sun, would be one that is about, I think it's organic and raising frequency and switching us on. It's all about the awakening, and those who were more negatively focused or controlled would not cope very well with the adjustments. But it does seem like there is going to be an organic event, that's whether it's from the planet or space, the sun, I don't know, to me. And there's also going to be an inorganic one, an artificial one. And as much focus as possible as much attention as possible is trying to be given to this artificial one. So that's where we're looking, and that's what we reach out for. And I'm seeing a lot of people on Facebook talking about how they are actively, it freaks me out, they are actively asking for this, to be connected with this, because they're associating it with some kind of ascension wave or whatever, and they're trying to energetically connect to it. And I've learnt that whenever you ask for help, no matter who you think you're asking help from, it's an invitation for anybody to assist. So I'd be really careful personally. But before we move on, there's a couple of things in the chat room that I just want to get to and share with you guys before I lose them, because the chat room tends to get busy. One is in regards to that supercomputer in China. It's Deborah said that supercomputer in China is for China's space program. China and Russia have been trying to move on a de-weaponizing space treaty. Certain people would not be happy about that. And apparently, according to Judith, there was an explosion in Thailand as well. Judith, if you could let me know when that supposedly was, unless you already know about it, Dee.
Yeah, that happened today. It happened at 7 p.m. Bangkok time today. It was a motorcycle bomb. We don't have a lot of details on it other than the fact that it was, I think the last death toll I heard was 13 or 14 people killed, most of them tourists. And of course, immediately the finger being pointed is tying it towards China and the yuan, because China devalued the yuan, and I guess Bangkok has been rattling the saber Thailand about they're going to devalue that, and they're saying that this was a threat against them, and I don't buy that. Now, of course, they're also trying to pull in that, well, there is a strong Islamic movement in the south of Thailand that they've had trouble with, but yeah, no, like that doesn't happen in Bangkok. This kind of shit doesn't happen in Bangkok because the king doesn't let it happen in Bangkok, and the king's word is kind of like, that's what happens. It's interesting. I am following it. I don't have a lot of details as of yet because it's now the middle of the night there in Bangkok. So first thing in the morning when I get up, I will be right back into it and trying to figure out what happened. My cousin who lives there was 2 blocks away when it happened. So, yeah.
So what building was affected?
It was right in downtown, in one of the big market near, hold on, give me a second, what was it? Right by one of the famous Watts where a lot of tourism goes, and it's a big shopping area as well. So it was a really, really big area with a lot of foreigners. Even though this is not really the high tourist season right now because it's the rainy season. But yeah, there was a lot of foreigners there. So interesting. I'm going to watch that very closely. Oh, we also had another Indonesian plane disappear. I don't know if everyone else noticed that one.
Really?
Another plane. Oh yeah, another plane crashed into Indonesia last night. And of course, the big news that kind of came out and then got hushed up is that the plane was carrying almost $500 million in cash to go to a very, very poor area of Papua New Guinea. And the plane just disappeared off radar, and it apparently crashed into a mountain in a very, very remote area of just on the border of New Guinea. And, they suspect it might take weeks for them to reach there.
How many people?
45 people plus 5 people with the airline. I think it was 51 or 52 people in total, I believe. No releasing of the names, and that's what I'm trying to dig in, because they're trying to claim that it was 4 postal service guys were in charge of the 4 bags of money. And I'm like, yeah, I don't buy that. They don't send like postmen with like $500 million worth of cash. It just doesn't happen that way. So someone was on that plane. I don't know who. I will find out. So that's all in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, they just
remember, yeah. They have to create a lot of trauma and chaos.
Yeah.
For humanity to invite this matrix system in, the new world order or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter, because they have to create a lot of trauma. So out of that trauma, we allow and ask for help. And, we talk about how they're keep piling things up for September, financial might be, it feels to me like they're compiling sort of a whole bunch of stuff to hit us, to create trauma on every continent, on every level, on every group, so that everybody can be hit and trauma. And then, don't forget that they may even add an alien disclosure into all this bunch of,
Oh,
line
you're
of things.
so psychic, Lily. I was going there next.
Yeah.
It's really coming out now. The mainstream media is running there's been a lot of articles, and RT has run at least one UFO or ET alien article every 3 or 4 days for about a month now. Like Nick and I just keep opening up and going, oh my God, there's another article about UFOs or about aliens or about, and it's like right in RT. Now, whether you want to believe it or not, RT, mainstream media, completely controlled. They just, control from the other side.
They give notice too.
They give notice. They give huge amounts of notice. And there's a shitload of articles all of a sudden coming back up again. All about aliens, all about disclosure. Not mentioning disclosure per se, but I think that's going to be one of the big distractions. I honestly believe that they are doing the soft disclosure right now, the lead up to that one big ginormous distraction, because let's face it, that would be the distraction that pulls the entire world in. Hi, guess what? We're not alone in the universe. Meet our little friends.
And imagine all the Christians will be screaming for Jesus save us, And
the Vatican's already playing that, though.
Yeah, there's so much stuff coming out of the Christian sector about the rapture. September is the rapture.
All right.
There's a lot.
So here we go. But I have a feeling they've compiled a multi-layer attack on humanity and on the planet, because they want to lock us into another cycle of their nonsense. And the planet is pushing back, and we are pushing back and saying no to that. So they have to get really creative and try to ask us for consent in all these other ways.
I've had so many messages from people it's sort of growing exponentially over the last 3 to 4 weeks from people who are either, they're all connected in some way to something. Now, it might be they're psychic and connected to the angelic realm. It might be that they're quite psychic and tuned into the planet. It might be that they're whatever. They've got something going on. All saying that, yes, something big is happening and it is coming this September. I've also had lots of warnings to get off the coast. I've had, I don't know, you name it. Basically, I've had it over the last month. And what it feels like to me is that whether they're connected to something like the angelic realm, which I don't see as a positive thing right now, or whether they're more tuned to the planet, it looks to them like something is really, really coming. But whether we're talking about something organic and from the planet or the sun, or whether we're talking about something artificial, I think they're probably both right. And we are being heavily, heavily distracted. I mean, if we're sitting here in November or December and nothing has fucking happened, I mean, oh my God, this is almost worse than the 2012 build-up, the 21st of December, the way this has been.
The only thing,
so fast.
I will say the only thing that Earth will do will be to counteract whatever is going to be thrown at her. So we probably will have both. And so that's why everybody's right. But Earth will be counter projecting to neutralize the energy that's coming to enslave her. So it will be neutralizing. It is very gentle and soft energy, so not many people will be feeling it, but those that are connected deeply to the planet, they will feel it. But but she'll be protecting herself. So we might get both. And so that's for that, everybody's right.
Yeah.
Or maybe everybody's wrong. And maybe there's going to be nothing, because if there is no need for Earth to do anything drastic, then she won't.
Well, I'm with Jeff. If nothing happens, I'm going to lose my shit too. I am going to have the biggest tantrum, and it may last a while because, oh my God.
The first Monday morning after September, Danny will lose her shit.
Oh yeah, I feel that October is shaky too.
Yeah, I was going to say the first couple of weeks of October, I think so too. Yeah.
Well, this is the whole thing. It's almost, there's so much focused on September that it almost has to be a distraction. Even if it's one of those, right? The boy who cried wolf, we all love that story. Like, oh, September doesn't, nothing happens, let's say, earth shattering, so to speak. Pardon my puns. And then you get October, everyone's like, fuck this shit. It's all fucking, and boom, something happens. And it's, that's what they did with December 21st, 2012, right? Gear everyone up to nothing. Well, so to speak. But the distractions are insane right now. Like the news, the bombings in Syria.
2012. It just didn't look like anything we thought it was going to look like or hyped up to look like.
But which was perfect, right? Which played right into the whole plan, right? If you build everyone up with for example, look at it right now. Everyone's building up to, like you say in the States, the rapture. Oh, it's going to be the rapture. Oh, it's going to be financial collapse. Oh, it's going to be disclosure. Oh, it's going to be wave X, Y, Z, and so on. And when it doesn't come looking like that package that you were told it would look like, then you don't notice, or maybe you are not prepared to see what is actually happening. It's a good distraction, isn't it?
I'm just going to look up something that I was watching last night, and I'll get back to you. 1 second.
Okay. Yeah, the distractions right now are absolutely insane. The Middle East is a war zone. Syria, again, massive bombings this weekend. 90 kids killed, or at least 35 kids in one school were killed. You've got the shit in China, Bangkok. Everything, everywhere. And if you look at North America, you've got the election crap. And I was, Lily, because when you talked about a politician losing their mind, that's kind of Stephen Harper right now, because the man might as well have a mustache like this. That's the way he's acting at the moment. Even conservatives in Canada are going like, oh, he's fucking lost the plot. So, yeah. I don't know. What have we got?
Just mentioned something that was tied into what I was looking for. A woman called Rebecca Sterling. She's a Christian woman forever. Back in 1997, had a vision, right? Some of you might be familiar with it. She was an investment banker and she was in that world. But what she had was, what she claims, was a mind meld with somebody else who was alive on the planet, like somebody living. And she essentially downloaded this woman's entire memory bank of her life. And she saw her sitting, looking very bedraggled and disheveled with her son. And her memories kicked off with the death of her father-in-law. And her father-in-law was a West Point graduate general. And then the storyline of this woman's memory starts with that. And this woman, not necessarily being artistic or creative, she ended up creating a diorama. It's like 6 meters long of the vision, of everything that appeared in the vision. One of the things she did was create what she called a mixed race leader that she used in the White House. She said in the vision that he was never referred to as the president. It was just leader. And she ended up buying little dolls, like Barbie dolls, essentially, and then manipulating them, whether she was actually sculpting their
Coloring
face,
them.
coloring them, dressing them, so that they would look like what she saw. She put this mixed race leader with a black wife and 2 black daughters. She had, and all these little things that she collected to represent them, right? Some of the things that, among the things that she had representing the leader was a passport, tiny little passport. Anyway, so it's interesting, right? She talks about, you said it, this leader never leaves office, or he doesn't leave office. That he, come 2016, uses his powers that he's granted himself to basically cancel the election. Now, she had this vision way back before Obama was even heard of.
Yeah.
She said when she had it, she was initially quite pissed because she thought the next big shake-up in political leadership would be to have a woman as the president.
It's 9 o'clock.
So she was a bit disappointed in that. My computer's talking to me, my phone's going off.
I was wondering what the hell that noise. It's 9 o'clock. What?
So she saw there was a general who did die, and she's actually identified this woman. I can't think of his name, but there was a general who died, and apparently Obama didn't go to the funeral, and it was a big deal. So that might tell you who it was. When she heard that, she knew that that was the general and that this was the start. Apart from having Obama in office, but in terms of this was the start of the story. This was the beginning of the vision. That there's going to be financial and other, I'm not sure what the other is, causes of the United States kind of going into martial law and losing its shit. It's rioting, looting, all kinds of things that lead to martial law. And then when the elections are due in 2016, because the country's in, that Obama cancels the elections, essentially, suspends them until they are safe and can be trusted. But
yeah, because you can trust elections. No, really, you can.
Now, I haven't actually finished. There was 2 interviews that they did with this woman. I've only done the first half, the first one. So I'm only just getting up to that point in the story. But this diorama, she's had photographs and video footage and eyewitnesses of that she's been building since 97 that can verify. And she only just started talking about it in the this year, I think. She's only gone public with it. That because she was kind of told by spirit, you're not to talk about any of this yet. It's just for you. Until she was
just wait.
Just yeah. And then she got the go ahead. But it's coming from a highly Christian perspective. She's nearly 70 now, I think. I downloaded it. So the name of the video is called Urgent, 2015 is the beginning of the end. Rebecca Sterling, 1999 vision of 2015. And there's one video that goes for about an hour and a half, which is the 2 interviews put together. Okay. So I don't have a direct link to.
Well, that's. I've never heard. This is the first I've heard of that, but I have heard rumors that is Obama's game plan. That and I've heard that for like 4 or 5 years now. that that's what the game plan is that he would do something to basically change the laws, change the rules about terms in office, and make an excuse to, well, basically turn into Emperor Palpatine, right? If you ever watch the Star Wars movies, that's what he does, right? He says, oh, well, I'll take on all, and he basically puts himself in charge of everything forever. So, I don't know. Maybe we should get Obama a cowl, big, brown hood. See if he can use a lightsaber. I don't know.
Well, the things that she associated with Michelle.
Uh-huh. Did she say she was a man?
Not that I heard, no.
Just wondering.
But in the interview, the guy that's doing the interview said that Michelle's grandmother was caught doing some sort of voodoo, black magic, satanic stuff in the White House, and there was a big cry about it. I hadn't heard anything about that, but he said she was busted for doing that.
Huh.
Because this woman, Rebecca Sterling, associated Michelle with black magic.
And they all associated.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, that's it, Maurice. Thank you. It's been put in the chat room.
There's so many pieces, and there's so many, especially when we start talking about prophecies, visions, whatever, there's so many things that have come out. And we're seeing them come back up, like things that were, I don't even remember his name, the guy who made the prophecy on his deathbed in 1944.
Peter Dooner.
That whole thing is coming out heavily right now. I read something just recently about, which I'd completely forgotten about, is the what do they call it? The visions of Fatima from the Vatican, promised in 1960 they would release what the third vision was, and then they didn't. But apparently Pope John Paul II actually basically kind of let it slip. That basically it's like, horrific and all the rest, and that's why they haven't released it to the public. But in all of this, the one thing that kind of keeps swinging in is we keep talking about timelines, right? And all of these things were seen prior to December 21st, 2012. When, I'm sorry, I mean, for me, I totally believe 100% that we were talking, these timeline issues are something that is absolutely relevant in this moment. Is that I think that a lot of these things that we're seeing were not necessarily the timeline we are on now. Yeah. And even in 97 or 99, when this woman saw this, what was she seeing? Was she seeing a split in the timeline? Was she seeing what was the old timeline? It keeps coming into play. So you hear all these different prophecies, but for me, I always come back to, okay, but what timeline was that on? What timeline?
This goes back to that guy that I told you about the other week, the Australian guy who I'd been connected with. Well, I did get in touch with him.
Yeah.
And his vision that he got was 3 weeks before 9/11. And he told people that that was going to happen. And he said that now he kind of lives his life day by day in it's like a constant state of deja vu. When I spoke to him last week, he said even this conversation we're having right now is loaded loaded with deja vu. And to him, nothing, even the most insignificant events throughout his day have that feeling. So for him, everything he saw in 2001 has happened so far. He believes that it's going to get really ugly. He has spent the last 15 years preparing. And this is the part, again, I'll keep going back to the collective imagination show because that's where I'm using it and that's where I'm putting that energy. I've always said to myself and lived by, don't have a plan B. Because plan B is what you end up with. Because plan B is what you prepare for, ultimately. And you get what you prepare for, because that's where you end up putting most of your energy into. So all of these preppers who are preparing for devastation, who are preparing to be without food and water and power and whatever, if there's enough energy in that preparation, then people are going to get that. So I want to put my energy and take as many people with me into preparing for something else. Prepare for plan A, which is a positive, smooth. But come on, let's bring it on nice and fast. Awakening.
And I'm so with you, Lisa. I am so with you on that because I totally agree. It's where you put your energy and we want to focus on the positive, et cetera, et cetera. Yet I am, like I said, I am a realist. I always have a fully stocked medics bag. And you know what? It always comes in handy. And I've used,
of course it does,
every.
You're prepared for any emergency, so therefore you
but you know what? Like the next time someone has a grand mal seizure and I need to go and be able to assess them, et cetera, I have my stethoscope and I have my blood pressure cuff and I have all my little pieces and they're there. And my problem is this. This is where, you know me, this is where Lisa and I are so, I think is why we do such a good show together, because we're so different in so many ways. For me, I am the realist. And I want to believe, because you're a realist in a different way. For me, you can even call me a pessimist if you want, although I'm really not, because I'm the one who's always saying, I don't believe this shit's going to happen. But at the same time, I don't want, it's like I said, and I keep saying it over and over again, people need to be prepared for shit happening. I'm sorry. Earthquakes, floods, and volcanoes. Hello? All over the goddamn fucking planet right now. And you can put your hope and all your energy into saying, it's not going to happen to me. Or I'm not going to be prepared. I'm not in any energy on it.
No, we're losing her. Well, we may have lost her altogether.
Yep.
Sorry. For fuck's sakes. I hate internet. I do not consent. I do not consent to this bullshit. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you back.
Uh-oh. So, because I got my little notice up there saying your internet connection is unstable. There's, a surprise. No, I mean, this is it. Right now, never mind anything else. Never mind the fact that global politicians are losing their goddamn fucking minds all over the place. Never mind shit blowing up. Never mind all of the financial crap. Look at what we're seeing in earthquakes. In the last 48 hours, we have had 17 earthquakes 5.0 or greater. We have 2 major fucking volcanoes erupting right this second on the planet. Oh, one of them is 50 kilometers away from the nuclear power plant that Japan just opened up last week. Yeah, because that was a real smart move. Floods everywhere, drought everywhere, tornadoes all over the fucking place, volcanoes and earthquakes. So natural disasters everywhere. I'm sorry, be smart, be prepared. That's my number one thing. Even us here, we're talking about it, saying where we are situated specifically right now is we are in a low-lying area. And Nick and I have talked about being prepared, i.e. that there's food in the house, that there's water in the house, that there's an alternative form of power in the house, because you don't know.
I'm more inclined to go with if spirit is telling you that to be prepared, then do it. But not because you're in a mind-based, fear-mongered state.
No, and that's just it. I'm not talking about fear. I'm not talking about being in a fear-based state at all. For me, it's not about fear. I actually kind of know that we're all fucking fine. I know we're fine here. But being prepared for me is just something that I do. And I just want, there's a lot of people out there still suffering from love and lightitis who believe the galactics are going to come and rescue them and not going to let anything happen. And that's all fine if you want to do that. But you know what? You have a responsibility to your family. So take your head out of your ass and get prepared. That's all. And I'll go sit in the corner again.
Well, the thing is, we have to look at that for the future timelines and all these predictions and everything that we had in the past. They were also projection of not collective human consciousness, but something else that overtook humanity, and it looked like humanity wants that, but that was not the case. So all of that is sort of off the table. That's the way I look at it. Because, I mean, how many predictions we had for Ascension of 2012? Gazillion. And none of it happened. What that tells me is that things did change on that time. It did change. It's just many people didn't notice because things didn't go the way they've expected things to go. But things have changed, and I see that ever since, how different it is. And we have the capability now to create from within our spirit. And what that means is you can't really even make prediction for this timeline, because we create as we go, as the collective human consciousness that is here. We are alive and we're creating in the moment of now. And so, to me, that's the timeline I'll pick over any other timeline. And there isn't really any predictions for it. You can kind of sort of feel where it can go, but until we actually collectively create this timeline, we're not going to know how it's going to look like. That's my opinion.
Lily, I noted months ago, or maybe a year or so ago, that all of those ancient prophecies and predictions, they seemed pretty accurate right up until 87, the cosmic convergence time. And from that point on, their accuracy rate just started to decline. They were like 90% almost up until about 87. Something shifted then. And then again in 2012, for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking into this, that what they call a SARS energy that came from inner Earth core. And they figured it out now, that the Earth's inner core has another inner core in it, and it emits energy. And from what I know, the information I got, maybe I haven't got all the information on that, but there is actually an energy that they were able to measure in the beginning of 2013 that they had never measured it before. So there's definitely a lot in that, timeline when things changed, and 87 could have been a first step, in this change. But because we were still riding the wave of all the astral timelines predictions, and I think what happened in 2012 is that everybody realized that, something's really not going the way it was predicted. So people sort of just realized that there was a change. But you're right, that change could have been years before that. But this energy that they measured in the beginning of 2013, it was the first time they ever measured that energy. And then they also found out just last year that the inner core of the Earth has its own inner core that has crystals completely pointed in a different direction. In my thing is, it's connected to Earth's timeline, and this is the surprise. This inner core crystals are not aligned to north and south. It is east-west, which creates one point on the planet because the planet is moving, so there's no two fixed point. And so I actually strongly feel that this inner core is what brought us out of extreme duality, meaning two extreme points of our existence, north and south. They're fixed 2 points, mean two extreme reality. And so right now, the inner core is flowing, and it's connected through the sun, and so it's one now. So we are in a whole different timeline. If there is any more information on that, there's one article that you can find about the inner core, and that's it, and nothing else, from some Chinese guy.
Okay, and I read the article because Lily sent it to me, and if I can bloody well find it again, I know it'll be in our Skype chat somewhere. I will actually put it out because it's really freaking interesting. Here's the problem I have, is we have conversations. So Lisa and I have conversations, and Lisa and Lily and I have conversations, and then we have conversations on shows, but then I can't remember what we actually discussed on the show and what was just a conversation that we had. So I can't remember if last week this happened during the show or if it was the one we got into after the show. And Lily, you and I were talking about the Earth's axis, the axis point of the Earth. And of course, if you guys remember the very first time we talked to Lily, and she talked about the 23-degree tilt and the fact that, you know, they're trying to bring it back upright, kind of connect the elevator shafts, so to speak, so they can take back control of the various levels. But there's the tilt, and of course the tilt is what gives us our seasons, etc., etc. And I've been talking for the last little while, especially about, for example, the Inuit are talking about the fact that the stars and the sun and the moon are not in the right place anymore. The Inuit being in the far, far, far north, which would be the most radical point on the planet when you talk about location. Obviously, the equator is going to have the least amount of change, whereas the outer edge of it is when I need to have a sphere or a ball or something. I've had a theory going through my head, raging through my head for about 3 weeks on this. And Lily, you and I have had several conversations about it. And Lily sent me this article about the inner core. And it is really, really interesting scientifically because of how they measured this, and which, of course, now I can't remember all the details on it. I will find the link and I'll put it out for everyone. What's interesting is this. I've been talking about the shifting of the weather patterns that we're seeing right now having to do with the tilt of the planet, and that the planet is tilting. But it's not tilting, if you can imagine, okay, oh God, this is when you need freaking something to use as an example. If the planet right now is sitting at 23 degrees with my fingertips being the North and South Pole, and they trying to tilt it back up this way to realign, as I call it, the elevator shafts. I believe the planet is actually tilting farther the other way now. And I've talked about this, and I've pulled up various 3D models of a globe because I want to show that basically it's going to show that where I can see in my head of the planet tilting, the equator has changed, which is why Australia and New Zealand is freezing their fucking ass off this winter, and Japan is having a fucking heat wave that they've had since frickin' May, and in various other places on the planet. All the conversations that I've been chasing around, and Nick and I have had hours upon hours of conversation on this, big article got released in the news this week by CNN and various NASA type outlets that apparently researchers have just discovered that the vast majority of the stars in our Milky Way have changed their movements now. Yeah, all this. No, it's not us that's changed. No, all the stars, the entire fucking universe has. Yeah, this is NASA. The entire fucking universe has changed their elliptical path. Has nothing to do with our planet. No. The fact that we're tilting, which is why we see the stars in different fucking places. Hello? No. They all changed, not us. So I saw this article this week and was just like, holy shit, that's it right there. They've just said it. It's absolute proof. What the Inuit have been trying to tell us since 2008 and 2009 is fact. The planet's tilt is changing, and that's why the planets are changing in their alignments. Yep, let's hear it, Lisa. If you say the words, if you even say them, I swear,
I'm not going to say flat Earth. Okay. What I am going to say is there is no magnetic south, though. There is only a magnetic north. Right. So I don't know how that fits in with what you guys are saying. Secondly, yeah, I know you want to jump in, but secondly, the guest that we were going to have on today's show, and she will be with us in the next week or so. In one of the conversations I was having with her, she said, in 1948, the ley lines on the planet shifted. What the indigenous here called the song lines moved. She believes, from her research, that all the pyramids and the ancient structures and all of those spots around the planet that have all been plotted and they're all in alignment were, for a very long time, used positively. They were healing centers. They were it almost sounds like they were the old sort of organic version of the internet. That they were song lines. They were pathways around the planet where we could connect telepathically and send energy into the collective. But they were usurped, as we know, and many of those sites had Catholic churches put on them and other churches, and used to infect the collective through fear and sacrifice and ritual and bloodletting and all of that took place on these spots to feed that grid with negative energy.
Yeah.
Then in 1948, the planet itself moved the ley lines so that all those old structures and all those churches are now on ineffectual spots, basically. In 1949, shortly after that event, is when CERN was first talked about and started to be worked on. And these CERN facilities, which are all around the world, the one in CERN is only one of them, but there are little plots all over the planet of these facilities that they are an attempt to match up now with the new positions, the new ley lines, the new nodes, the modern day equivalent of the pyramid structures, the temple structures around the planet.
Yep, that's what I said a while ago, that the CERN locations are the new pyramid structure. It's a modern pyramid structure. It's an adjustment to the tilt and to the movement, so to what Earth is doing. So they've adjusted with CERN.
And it was because they lost control of the old ley lines and the old pathways because the planet moved them.
Yep.
That the ley lines that are below the planet, only just below the surface, are mirrored in a grid around the planet and that everything is in a trinity. I can't remember what the third one is. I think that's even higher in the atmosphere. So it'll be an interesting conversation when we do get her on. Did you want to?
Well, this is, yeah, I know, I forgot to unmute. I am so excited to talk to her, and we've actually tried to meet up all week, and my internet has been so bad. I'm telling you, it is only through everyone watching right now setting the intent that I'm here, because this is the first piece of internet I have had in almost a week for having a conversation at this time of day. So I'm really impressed. Yay, everyone, you did a great job. The thing about the magnetics, right, is the fact of, like I said, NASA made an announcement back in 2014, summer of 2014, I believe, that the sun had flipped its poles. So one announcement, and it came directly from NASA, because as soon as I saw it, I backtracked that fucker so fast, you would not believe it. And it came from NASA, and then it was like buried, instantaneously buried. Magnetics are magnetics. And if the sun's things are flipping, then guess what? Earths are going to have a geosynchronous effect as well. It has to be that way. It's two magnets, right? They have the, and we know that we are so directly tied to that magnetic energy, right? And it's really funny because we actually had a pretty major, I think we still have a bit of a geomagnetic storm on. Yesterday though, hit around midnight UTC time, massive geomagnetic storm hit the Earth from a double whammy from the sun. With two filaments that ripped off that were, one of them was unbelievable. I've never seen one quite like this one before. And they affect us. Hey, Biggie, maybe that's why I couldn't get online at all yesterday to do the show. Maybe that was the geomagnetic storm. I just put that together.
Well, I have a theory about that too, is that our Earth's inner core externalizes itself through the sun. So sun is an externalization of our internal core of this planet. I mean, I think we're pretty much, all of us are aware that there is something about this planet that is special, let's just say that much. And why so many out there want it. But we have to understand that we can't see what the core of the planet does. But what I've been getting is that the way the planet is going to be also fighting off all this inorganic shit that is being projected and directed at her, it will be through the sun as well. And so how does sun work? I mean, we may see a lot more of those eruptions and things like that. And we got to understand that there is a connection there with our inner core. Right now, our planet is under attack. And she will protect herself. And so the sun will be on our team because it is a reflection or externalization of our core of the planet. So we might see that, and shit might get knocked down and all of that stuff. So we should be ready for it. Like you talk about, you know, we got to be ready for it because it might be, I mean, our planet is in the war right now. So shit happens when there's war, and that's where we are.
And for something completely off topic, the weather here just completely changed. In a 30-second increment, we went from hot, humid, the weather just shifted. The winds are bellowing outside right now, and the temperature has dropped about 5 degrees instantaneously. That's why the confused look on my face of like, what the fuck just happened? This whole everything's completely shifted over here. That was very strange. Okay, sorry. I wanted to interrupt again.
The thing is, I think that the North Pole is moving. It's got to move because of all this, you know, the way Earth is now. She's on a different path, and so it's changing. And I feel right now it is not stable. It's still in process of moving, and this is why all this instability. I mean, and this is actually proof that Earth is moving, because I mean, just look at the weather. I mean, not even talking about the stars moved, the sun moved. I mean, I've noticed in my own backyard, I lived in my house for 10 years, that the sun had moved. And well, I'm not, you know, that dumb. So I guess I'm, you know, I'm thinking, okay, something had happened. We moved. It's not the sun who moved, not all the stars that moved. Something is moving. Our planet is moving. And I almost have a feeling like he's trying to sort of get away from the attack. He's trying to sort of dodge the bullet right now. And so that's what we might be seeing.
Well, I remember at the end of 2013, it was actually while we were on the Opal tour, towards the end of it, there was a lot of talk and a lot of feeling around that we had moved then into a different part of the galaxy. A lot of people were feeling that. There was a lot of talk around it, that we kind of, at one point there was talk that it felt like we were in a wormhole, like a tunnel, traveling. And then everybody kind of popped up at the same time and we've just popped out somewhere else. It was, again, one of those periods where everybody who is sensitive to some degree was on the same page. So maybe back then is when it really kicked in. They don't usually announce these things in the moment, least of all NASA.
I mean, the Inuit's been talking about planet moving since what, 2009?
Yeah.
So,
Dee, are you with us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
The dogs are having a sing-song outside again, sorry. And this time Lucky's decided she wants to take part, so she's now sitting on my knee because she's in trouble for barking. So be a good girl. It's funny because I just want to say about the sun. I went up to go hang up laundry on the roof. Being, you know, big flat roofs, that's where you dry everything because it dries real fast here. So where I'm situated, where our house is, we're up from the ocean, but if we're on the roof, we can still see the Mediterranean Sea, and behind us, we've got a mountain. And the sun directly in front of us is east, is where the sun rises. Directly behind us is, like, I mean, literally directly behind us is west, and the sun sets over the mountain. And Lisa, you'll know what I'm talking about. Off to, when I'm facing the ocean, I can see Ceuta off to the left. Now, Ceuta is it's like a finger of land that sticks out from the northern coast of Morocco. It's actually owned by Spain. They say. That's another whole conversation. But you can see it sticking out, and it's like almost like an island just attached to the coast. I'm up hanging laundry, and it's getting almost to sundown, or I'm pulling laundry in, I guess. And all of a sudden, as I'm looking out the window, I go, wait a second. Why is the sun setting over Ceuta? And I literally was like, what? And I guess I was in the kitchen, jogged up to the roof and stood, and the whole skyline over Ceuta was as if the sun was absolutely setting. And I looked behind me at the mountain, and there's nothing. It's like that twilight colored sky. Then I literally came into the house and was like, Nick, get your ass on the roof. The sun is setting over there. And he was like, what are you talking about? So in the 3-4 minutes it took, because then all the kids have to come too, because, you know, hey, it's something exciting to look at. We get up. No, now you can see behind the mountain, you can now see the sun is setting behind the mountain. But the color from the sunset, it was like there was almost 2 sunsets. There was one directly behind us, behind the mountain, and then off all the way to the far left over Ceuta. It looked as if there was another sun setting. You couldn't see a sun, but that has how vivid the colors were. So if west is behind us, that means north. To the north, clear as day. I couldn't believe it. It was just like, what the hell is the sun doing setting over there? And you get, because of the sea, you do get weird mirrored sunsets. And Lisa, you'll remember that even when the sun would be setting behind us in the mountains, you'd get a band of pink across the east that kind of mimicked the sun setting in the west. But this wasn't like that. This was like full on, like sunset colors, reds, oranges, yellows, unbelievable over Ceuta in the north. And I sat there and was like, okay, I've never ever witnessed that before, and I have no idea why it's doing it. Was it just a weird thing? Like it was just, the clouds just happened to be, I don't know, light from Venus refracting off of swamp gas. Gonna quote Men in Black. I don't know.
There is a possibility that we're already, sun and earth are on their own way. Because there is something that interesting that I found out recently, that Saturn had actually tilted after the Earth tilted. So there's evidence, I guess scientists are talking about, that actually other bodies in our solar system had tilted to come back to the same place in comparison to Earth. So,
well, I mean, that's just it. I mean, there was a huge article again on CNN about a month ago talking about global warming is happening all over the solar system because, the ice caps in Mars have melted or some such ridiculousness, and the storm on Jupiter, and this is over here and that's over there, and this is this. Well, I'm like, okay, well, but no, nothing's happening on our planet. No, it's all the other planets that are changing, not us.
No, but the stuff that's going on here is man-made. So it's all these SUVs we're driving around is affecting Mars, apparently.
I actually saw a really cute picture that was showing a picture of NASA. It was trying to pass off as Mars in that, the orangey, reddy tones. And then there's a picture of the exact same picture. And they're like, this picture was taken in Ireland. And it's the exact same. I mean, seriously, the exact same fucking picture. And one's got like the orange filters on it, and the other one's like the lovely blue sky with the green rolling hills. And yeah, I thought it was funny.
Yeah, they're getting outed just daily these days. I'm just gonna. We've only got probably we got 20 minutes, 15 minutes left.
15 minutes.
You three, actually, left included, are aware, just on a personal note, of the funky stuff that's been going on in my life and certain synchronicities over the last week. And it's been seriously interesting. I mean, we talked last week on the show about all the messages that I've been getting about Get Off the Coast, right, and about September. So that was last Tuesday for me, my time. Friday, and for those of you who've been following us for a while, know that I was homeless from the time I got back into Australia in November of last year. People were helping in various ways with couches and spare rooms and whatever, and ended up in the car for the last month or so, couple of months. Finally got a place where I've been for the last 4 weeks. Was led to believe it would be long term. So here I am having all these discussions with you guys around September. Then I'm getting all these messages, get off the coast. And 2 days later, I get an eviction notice because it turns out the house is sold recently and the new owner wants to move in. So I'm like, what the? Okay. And now there's been more synchronicities that are leading me in certain directions, which as they solidify, I'll share. But I have to wonder, okay, my initial reaction was no, I'm not happy about this. And I let that go. I got to the point of, okay, this is spirit telling me that this is not where I'm meant to be, for whatever reason. So I don't know what's next, other than I may well be on the road again or in the car again, who knows. And this is coming back to what I was saying earlier about not having a plan B, or not putting too much energy into prepping, because I couldn't have prepped for this anyway. This is totally happening in the moment, and the things that are sort of lining up are feeling like they're coming from spirit. I can say that. And I've just got to try and do my best to stay centered and connected and follow the intuition and follow the signs and the leads and all of that stuff. So I'm doing my best to do that. But what's been happening for me personally, and the little synchronicities and the signs and stuff, is definitely a direct reflection. It's a macro-micro thing of the conversations that we're having, of the stuff that we're talking about that's happening globally. I mean, I'm doing my best to be just the observer in it all, but it's blowing my mind, I have to say. Doing my best to stay calm and centered, but cannot fail to see the connection. Okay, everyone's just gone quiet. So.
You know what? We just before we went live talking about synchronicities, when people just reappear, and based on conversations that we've had privately, and then people to do with those conversations just randomly reappear. Yeah, synchronicities. Definitely, definitely a big one at the moment. I mean, yeah, listen, I hear you. I'm riding the wave.
You know, we are kind of in a new territory, on a new path, the way I feel. I have so much excitement about our future. And even though sounds like it's new to us, it feels new. But we're all, I think that the ones that understand this right now, we've been in our power on this planet. And our memory are coming back on how to create. Because we used to do it long time before all this shit had happened here. It used to be a really powerful planet and a powerful human consciousness that did extreme things for universe and for internal source creation. And we're just putting our toes back in it again. And I agree with you, Lisa, about that feeling that it's almost like unbelievable. You just can't believe it that you actually can see all that, and that you are in charge of your creation here. And we are barely begun. We're still getting bombarded with so much. So we can imagine how much bigger all that will become in our future if we stick with it, if we stick with our own selves and with the planet.
Yeah.
You know, I had a conversation this morning with somebody who around all of this, and a lot of us have had a vision of how the world should be for a very long time. We've had a vision of our role, we've had a vision of what it is we want to do, and throughout our lives there have been these little moments where you go, oh, this might be, and then no, and no, it's not. You know, and it's these little people come into your life or circumstances start, maybe it's starting to unfold, and then there's all this excitement around it, and then there's this huge disappointment. I'm in that one of those moments again now, where it's like circumstances and events and promptings and synchronicities are leading you on that path of, oh my God, is this it? Is it starting to unfold? And I had a stern word to Spirit and said, do not lead me up a garden path again. Do not get me all excited and then pull the plug. I'm not playing that again. If this is it, if this, and it is what it feels like, it's a really symbolic timeline, whatever you want to call it, that the visions that many of us have had all over our lives are connected to that timeline. It's what we've held on to, it's what we've seen all along. And it feels like that's what's starting to open up. And if this is yet another just hold on to it for a little bit, I'm going to be so pissed. But that's how it feels. That's what's happening. Solidifying is that timeline. And if I could just stay in that space and go with it, even if it gets bumpy.
Yeah, and it probably will. It probably will. But even that little bit, it's so worth it to me to be that much connected to that which you've been always dreaming about, even though you might not had the mental picture. I did not have the mental picture or words for what I envisioned the life on this planet is, but it was always there. And so now here and there, I see my sort of vision popping up in my own reality. And even for that, little pop-ups, I'll still take that over any of the all other stuff that is projected onto us. I'd rather have my ride, even though it might be bumpy, but it's my ride.
You know what? I don't know. I sometimes I feel like I'm a broken record, but let's just say it's all the journey. And as I always say, no one has the answers. We bring forward what resonates with us, what comes to us in the moment, and what speaks to, kind of as you say, what speaks to our spirit in the moment of like, this is important, this is a piece that we need to look at. It's not about, well, yeah, like we said, oh, look, my internet connection is unstable. What are the answers? I don't know. The answers are in us. And that's all we can do is just go within to find those. And I hate to use that phrase because God knows that's a polluted phrase. But that's all we can do. And the whole savior meme, like you said, Lisa, like it's like, is this another disappointment? Is this another one? Is someone jerking our fucking chain again?
Hang on, you're reminding me of something. No.
Okay.
Years ago, on 3 separate occasions, I think it was, maybe 4, I had an experience, which I've told you about before, of a tear in my vision. Like, literally as if reality was a big projector screen and there was a big tear in the screen and I could see the reality behind the screen. But it was within my vision, and the first time it happened, it lasted for hours. So I would be, I was at home in a room, and there was a big chunk of my vision where I could see green grass and this pristine environment. It was trippy. On the third go, I was actually tempted to try and walk through it, but it scared me. And I know, I'm thinking of one individual, one friend in particular, who had a dream of a dome over us, like a reality matrix superimposed, and we all start tearing at it and pulling it down. But that's a variation on a story I've heard many, many times. People have had dreams or visions of something like that, where the last Insurgent, the Insurgent film from Divergent, the second one, you know, they get the message that you can walk out of this reality now, you know, go beyond the wall. It's just an experiment, and there's this whole other world on the other side. That theme I've heard many, many times. Now, either that people have seen it as like a computer program that just starts to disintegrate, or openings open up in it and people start to walk out of it, that kind of thing. I've been hearing those things for years, and then my own experience. And the people who have had those have come back to me and said, "Oh, it feels like this is it now. Like this is coming." They're being reminded of their own vision that they might have had a year ago or 10 years ago about this. It's coming up for them again right now. So that's the other thing. That might be why we're feeling like maybe all this hype around September is just hype and bullshit and distraction, but maybe this is what it's trying to distract us from. And it goes back to that other conversation we had about, have they actually unlocked the doors and we haven't, we're just too distracted to notice.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, go.
No, but this is the whole thing. 'Cause I mean, I play devil's advocate in my own head freaking 100 times a day. Everything that I do, it's like I got the two personalities that you know, play devil's advocate to each other. And the one thing that I come back to is whenever I have those moments where I sit there and go like, fucking nothing's happening, it's all fucking bullshit, whatever, is the fact that I'm sorry, you can feel it. You can feel it. It's tangible. And it comes back to that conversation. And I'm sorry, Biggie just gave us the 2-minute warning. And I'm like, oh, because I wanted to get into this earlier. But it comes back to that, you know, if you tell everyone that all these physical symptoms are Morgellons and mind control and artificial intelligence, then they will push away from those physical symptoms instead of realizing that, no, those physical symptoms are actually what you're feeling as we are energetically going through all these fucking changes. And one of the things that came up for me was that whole thing about the vibrating. And we talked about this last week, and we talked about it during the AI symposium. And I actually had a real big thing is I've realized that when I start to feel that heavy vibration is when I'm working on myself energetically, when I'm working on healing myself, which I've been doing a lot of that because we've been sick this week. Whenever I put myself in that place, okay, it's time to go in and work on this, is when the vibration starts. So I know for a fact that vibrating in my chest, the vibrating that I feel, it has fucking jack shit to do with AI, black goo, fucking Morgellons, anything else. No, it's not. It's me working on myself. So, you know, there's your distraction, right? But we can feel it. Regardless of the end, we all can feel something's coming. Everyone can feel it, even the people who are in fear mode and completely blocked off, they can feel it too. All you gotta do is go on social media and read the posts. Everyone can feel it.
Yeah. All right, guys, we have to say our goodbyes. Just briefly, I won't be on the Collective Imagination tomorrow. Barbara is going ahead, and I'm sure it's going to be a great show. I will be starting my holographic kinetic course tomorrow. That also means that I will not be here for next week's roundtable because that'll be the last day of the course.
Yep.
So I will see you guys next week for next week's Collective Imagination show.
There we go. And that's the end of the roundtable for this evening. 2 hours gone by like that. Seriously.
Thank you, Lily.
Thank you for having me. Kathy, Lisa, and everybody, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
We
Thanks,
love
everybody.
having you with
I
us.
can't see it anymore, but I lost it a while ago. But thank you.
No problem.
And I will try to have Transpicuous News this Sunday. The internet's real bad right now, but I'm doing my best. Okay?
Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.
If you really had to make a difference on a large scale with minimal resources, how would you go about it? Have you ever dared to dream of doing that which seems impossible? On a planet steeped with corruption and destruction, the question beckons, how do we change it? Media has a far-reaching impact on people and has been used to manipulate humanity into our current destructive patterns. In order to affect people into moving into constructive patterns of behavior, we need to construct a new paradigm of media. Conscious Consumer Network has been created with the explicit intention of giving the amazing truth-seeking, solutions-orientated, alternative media a place to fully realize their true potential with a cutting-edge, high-tech professional media platform. In turn, some of the greatest freedom-seeking hearts and souls of our time have realized the true potential of what has been created and have come together to provide their insight and inspiration on CCN. Conscious Consumer Network has become a unique, interactive information and educational network which provides a free-to-view, live-stream, ultra-high-definition channel to the world and features 25 live shows a week and growing with the addition of multiple language broadcasts. CCN has features comparable with mainstream media, such as being able to pause and rewind broadcasts whilst being live-streamed. Catch up on missed or previous broadcasts, now available from the CCN High Definition downloads. You can now purchase a high definition download of your favorite CCN show from ethymarket.com. Support free and independent media by becoming a monthly pledger. This can be done with a monthly pledge of €10, which will allow you unlimited access to CCN's high definition downloads, which hosts a back catalogue of over 250 shows which have been aired since the launch of CCN on the 1st of January 2015. In order to keep CCN on the air, public funding is needed. Please donate to CCN's Network Support Fund or become a monthly pledger. Help keep alternative media in the hands of the people. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.